All right, we'll go ahead and get started. First off, I just want to say good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for being a part of the Tennessee Pollution Prevention webinar series. This webinar is going to be about sustainability at the office, so we really appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedules to be a part of the webinar and to hopefully learn about some sustainability that you can bring to your office setting. So my name is Caleb Powell, and I am an environmental scientist for the Office of Policy and Sustainable Practices, and that is housed at TDEC, which is the Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation. So I'll be hosting the webinar today for our wonderful speakers. We have three very wonderful speakers. I'll be getting into their introductions in just a little bit. Everyone is muted upon entry to reduce the amount of background noise, but if you have any questions, comments, or concerns during the entire webinar, please feel free to ask them in the chat box. I will ask those to our presenters to get those answered. I'm currently sending a chat to all of the participants so that you can see where the chat box is. So feel free to send me a chat if you have a question for any of the presenters, and I will make sure that they get that question, and hopefully we can get it answered for you. So just to give a little overview, this webinar is going to provide an overview of opportunities for implementing sustainability measures in your office. While there are various technologies and strategies for enhancing sustainability in the manufacturing process, we will be considering the day-to-day procedures that happen in your office. So the topics for this webinar will include references to successful initiatives and techniques to help your facility adopt new practices. Just to give an overview of our speakers, we have Mark Valencia to talk about TDEC's Sustainable Workplace Initiative. We have Rachel Friend to speak on Train's Office Sustainability Progress, and we have Janice Bourne to go over Idaho Clamp's Office Environmental Improvements and Recycling. So our presenters have a very good wealth of knowledge and experience that will help us better understand how to successfully start and manage sustainability programs in the office setting. With that being said, I'd like to introduce our first speaker, Mark Valencia. He's a coworker and a good friend of mine. He's an environmental scientist for the Office of Policy and Sustainable Practices and has been working for TDEC for about 2 years. Mark's prior experience includes surface, ground, and groundwater conservation and monitoring, indoor and outdoor air quality, waste reduction and recycling, and native plant conservation. He assists in our office currently with the Tennessee Sustainable Spirits Program, the Sustainable Workplace Program, which is what he'll be speaking on today, and the state government solid waste recycling measurement and reporting project. He holds a Bachelor's of Science degree in Health Science with a concentration in environmental health from California State University, San Bernardino. Mark became interested in sustainability while assisting with the development of sustainability programs for a Southern California Native American tribe. So we're very happy to have Mark. He's got a wealth of knowledge, and he's been a very key person in our statewide sustainable workplace initiative. So with that being said, I will pass the presenter capabilities over to Mark.
Thank you, Caleb. Let's move on. Okay, so yeah, my name is Mark Valencia. Caleb did a great introduction for me. A little too much information on my side. But so with the Sustainable Workplace Program here with the state of Tennessee, we were looking into sustainable practices as TDEC as a whole, and we were just looking at ways that we can do our part as the state, you know, practicing what we preach within TDEC. So by leading example, let me get to the slides. Okay, so yeah, so to introduce what we're doing, we're trying to lead by example within TDEC, and within TDEC there is the central office in Nashville, and then we have 8 additional environmental field offices. So if you see that map, you can kind of see where each environmental field office is located. And we're trying to expand our reach. We initially started within our central office on applying certain sustainable practices within the workplace and branching this out to our field offices. So by starting that, we to initiate this program, we did a quick assessment of what was going on currently at our central offices and within our environmental field offices to see what exactly was going on. So through this assessment, we created a survey in which we interviewed our environmental field office. We have external affairs directors, and there's a director for each environmental field office. So with those key contacts within each of our buildings, we surveyed each of them. And with this survey, we just asked general sustainable practice initiatives at each of our field offices. And within each of our field offices, there's about 30 to 100 employees. So we can increase our reach on some of the elements of sustainability that we cannot just implement as, mandatory programs. So with this survey of our external affairs directors, we asked various questions in regard to waste management, recycling, composting, various community service engagement, signage pertaining to environmental topics. And through these results, we found that eight of our environmental field offices all have some sort of recycling program. 5 of the 8 do composting, and 5 of the 8 also had signage addressing various environmental topics. This next one that's listed as unwanted items exchange space. This is if you had a table within your office for employees to, if they had extra, let's say, plates or forks or any just various items that they did not want to throw away but they could give out for free. We provided, most of our field offices and our central office had some sort of space, usually in the break room, for people to, just set things out for free so people can take them. Usually it's like Tupperware items if it's in the break room. And all 8 of our environmental field offices had some community engagement event. Usually it was a stream cleanup or some kind of cleanup for lakes, streams, just land cleanup in general. And through these survey results, we worked on developing a way to address these issues that we came across. So it was kind of based on the survey, the office capabilities, and employee engagement. Our office was able to implement a 3-pronged sustainable workplace program to promote sustainable practices. And these 3 elements were, if you look at the bottom half, informational signage, community outreach, our Green Cube program. And so with the first one, the informational signage was created to address environmental issues of concern that TDEC could not easily change. So these are items that we couldn't just implement at a large scale. So the next best reach was engagement to our employees through some form of signage. We also worked with our environmental field office management to implement and improve upon the education and outreach activities like our site cleanup. So we developed 3 events. 2 of the events were already in place, and then we had added an additional event to it, and we'll address that a little bit later. And then the third part of this 3-pronged program was the Green Cube. So this first element was the informational signage. Because most of our environmental field offices buildings are leased by a private entity, the only control over energy consumption, water use, and food waste are individual practices by TDEC employees. Therefore, signage topics were designed to show employees what they can do to address these issues on a personal level in which they could apply at home and in the workplace. The signage created discusses the benefits of water conservation, reducing energy consumption, and reducing food waste. So these 3 signs, we kind of try to make them where they can be placed together, or you can place them anywhere throughout the building. We were trying to address the issues that we couldn't actually control through, lease agreements that we currently have with our buildings. So a lot of our lease agreements prevents us from, having control over HVAC systems, lighting, any of our energy side of that. Food waste, so this is something that we did not have in current lease agreements for food waste reduction, whether it was composting or anything like that. And then additionally was the water use. With our lease agreements, we were unable to control what toilets are in the bathrooms, what kind of faucets are being utilized. So these are, you know, minimally invasive, easy to put up signage that can address these issues in which an employee can take home and apply, and also apply within the workplace. The second prong to this program was our community outreach. There's 3 events that we have every year within our environmental field offices, which include the stream cleanup, our Operation Stand Down clothing drive, and the new one that we just added this year was the used school office supply collection. So every year the EFOs, or Environmental Field Office, participate in a yearly stream cleanup event within their community, and our office will begin measuring and tracking the amount of materials that are recovered from the streams. So with this, we're promoting these events outward to our environmental field offices, trying to improve participation from our employees, and measuring exactly what we're being able to pull out of these streams. So we're going to improve metric collection on this. In addition to that event, each November, we partner with Operation Stand Down to host a clothing drive to collect gently used clothing and toiletries for Operation Stand Down. All items are collected, measured, and donated by our office to benefit the veterans of Tennessee. And these, every year, so that last year we were able to collect 1,291 pounds of clothing items donated to Operation Stand Down. Each EFO was given a report detailing how much they actually donated from their office, and through this we promote in emails throughout all TDEC employees, you know, promoting our EFOs and what they were able to do in donating these items. The new event that we're hosting is the activity, which will begin this summer in 2019, in which EFOs can donate unwanted, lightly used office supplies to nonprofits or any organization in the field office area. Most of our field offices already have an arrangement with some form of nonprofit, a school county, in donating, you know, office supplies. So a big item that each field office and the central office collects every year are 3-ring binders. We collect a ton of them, usually because we get reports, we send out reports with these, and a lot of these items are not so easily recyclable, and in curtailing, you know, having to donate to recycle these or trash them, you know, they're perfectly good items that we're trying to generate additional items to donate without sending off to the landfill. So these items we're going to be donating to schools before this coming school year, and we're going to track, you know, the amount of items each environmental field office were able to donate. The third prong of this is our Green Cube. The Green Cube was first started in 2014 at our central office, and we rolled the program out to all 8 environmental field offices in 2018. Each year the program has been able to divert hundreds of pounds of materials from the landfill by recycling, donating, and reusing items that are normally discarded from the offices. So just this, since the development of our Green Cube at our central office, which is called the Tennessee Tower right there, we've been able to divert a little over 5,500 pounds of materials from the landfill. We've been able to reduce our carbon footprint in about 10.6 tons of CO2. And we've expanded this out to all of our environmental field offices. And now our Green Cube is mainly designed to accept items that are not so easily recyclable, but they still have a use, whether it's being recycled, reused, upcycled, items like that. The Green Cube is the recycling hub for our tower and now our EFOs. And with this, you know, the purpose of it was to increase our, you know, in addition to collecting these items, we're reaching out to our employees to show them that there are different avenues for some of these hard to recycle items. And if you look at this little graphic that we have up, that's showing what exactly we accept at our central office. This doesn't necessarily apply to every one of our field offices. It all depends on the capabilities of the office and what partnerships you have for recyclers and vendors around you. So with our central office in Nashville, we're blessed with having a lot of resources around us. So we're able, to accept batteries, office supplies, coat hangers, eyeglasses, ink and toner cartridges, plastic bags, packaging supplies, clothing, and books. Some of these items are reusable. So the books, for example, we have a little library where people can take a book, leave a book. The office supplies, we leave that out. So if anyone else within our building need additional office supplies, there may be some free items there. And if they're not used, that's when it goes to, the local charities for school supplies. Clothing goes to Operation Stand Down. The toiletries also go to our Operation Stand Down. Plastic bags, we have several organizations in place to accept these plastic bags and are able to reuse them. Pill bottles and mascara wands are 2 new additional items that we found vendors to accept them, and they're able to reuse these items for various purposes. In addition to that, I forgot to add, but we're starting to take wine corks because we have found an organization that's able to reprocess the cork within these and make a new item, a new material out of them. This is just a quick little picture of our office green cube. So, we have the signage and containers detailing exactly what we can accept. We have signage showing what we cannot accept. And if you see in the top of that picture, we have our little, take a book, leave a book library. Our office is able to create a green cube kit to use as a reference and provide the materials and training to each environmental field office. The green cube consists of 5 labeled containers to collect, recycle, and/or repurpose items that are traditionally difficult to recycle. I already discussed what kind of the items we accept. So with the green cube kits that we sent to our environmental field offices, it's generalized to just these 5 functions, which were the electronics, the batteries, the ink toner cartridges, office supplies, and items that are unwanted but still have a useful purpose. So I believe our sign says free items. So one of those containers that you see on the table says free items, and people can just, put, if they have an extra cup or if they have some, swag that we always get from conferences, we put those in there and people can take them. They can donate their own items, as long as we're trying to reduce it from going to the landfill. In addition to these containers, we had a designated area for the book exchanges. You can see in that top shelf right there on the left, where, people can trade and exchange, take books, leave books. It's a pretty useful library. We see a lot of books coming in and out, so people are really using it, and it's a way for people, to not just throw out the books or let them get dusty on your shelf. You can always find someone who will take it. After installing the containers and signage, the office provided each of our field offices a standard operating procedure document for the green cube and for maintaining the green cube. In addition to that, we also provided guidelines to improve the green cube utilization by each environmental field office staff. So now we're going to kind of get into a little bit of, if you're interested in creating your own green cube at your workplace, we've established, some guidelines on producing an effective program for you. It may involve other departments within your organization, and to reduce, stepping on toes or getting confusion, we kind of listed some additional departments within your organization that you may need to work with to help, promote this green cube and reduce any confusion associated with it. So in that box on the top, you can see, some of the additional groups you may have to work with. So, facility managers, they're the ones mainly in charge of, the facility. So some of the duties they may have are waste disposal, office space allocation, janitorial services, equipment maintenance, facility maintenance. So if they just, see a space with some stuff accumulating, like, used items or books, they may think this is something that needs to be trashed, or they don't necessarily understand what's going on. So you might want to communicate with them that you created this new program, you have someone, a point of contact that they need to talk to if they ever have any issues with it. They also may be the ones who allocate space within your organization, so you may need to work with them to determine where is an area that's available for you to set up a green cube for your office. you may have to work with your EHS manager just to let them know that this is going on. And if you decide to collect electronic waste or batteries, just make sure you talk to them. You may have some issues with used battery storage, or if you do take light bulbs, you may have a universal waste issue. So make sure you clearly communicate with your EHS staff or management to let them know what you guys are capable of doing within your organization. Also, you may need to talk to your IT manager, because within our state, we can't just throw out computers. There's a protocol in place for recycling our computers and hard drives and equipment like that. So make sure you just discuss with them the proper disposal program you have in place for that. And below you see some additional tips on some things you may have to do. Establish a permanent location. You don't want this moving around. You want it somewhere where people will know where it's at. It's easily accessible. If they have something in it, they know exactly where to go to set it down. Create a list of items that you can accept. Having a list of what you can and cannot accept will reduce the amount of items that you do not want to generate, because sometimes you'll get some of those items where people are like, I got this light bulb, I don't know what to do with it. That's not what you want to do if you're not accepting light bulbs. You want to be able to clearly communicate what you can accept at this green cube. And have containers for each of these items. That'll be easier to transport once you're ready to donate these items, or once they're ready to go off to the recycler. Have uniform containers. It just looks nicer, and it has a spot for where people to place them, so you can determine the amount that you're generating, because if the people are just throwing it anywhere, you might not have a good grasp of what you're generating every month. Establish a layout. In the guidelines that we provide, it's on our website. It details some general guidelines on having a nice layout that keeps it uniform, keeps it tidy. Coordinate with your vendors. So if you are going to be accepting batteries or electronic waste, make sure you're coordinating with those vendors so they're able to dispose of these materials correctly. And some of these items may cost money, so make sure you have an established quote in place if you're able to take on additional charges. If not, make sure you know what you can and can't accept, and you know your budget. You don't want to run into an issue where people are just dumping so much e-waste on you, and you can't keep up with the charges that you're getting from your vendor to manage these materials. And have a management plan in place. Also have a champion, so someone who's there all the time, that sees the green cube, knows what you can and can't accept. Having a champion in place will make it way more easier for you to manage this green cube. Having someone who's there every day is talking to staff, saying, hey, you can't leave that there, or yeah, we can take that, and if we're having issues, we can talk to the vendor. Have a champion in place to promote your program. And track the metrics. The metrics are a great way to understand what your office is generating, and you can also use this as a good PR way of promoting. We're also reducing some of that hard to recycle items from going to the landfill. You're promoting sustainable practices not only on the production side, but within your office. This goes full circle with your organization. And this is just a good list of some of the signage we made. So this is what we have at each one of our green cubes. It has a good, clear list of what we can and cannot accept. Don't let that be your end-all, be-all. Update this as you find additional items you can accept or things you cannot accept based on the markets. It may have this nice sign that tells you no, but just be aware that you will get items that you're not supposed to accept within your green cube. So be aware of that. Have a plan in place if you're getting a lot of that, and if you feel like you're still generating stuff that you normally can't accept, maybe up your signage, discuss with managers so they can relay it out to their staff, and just stay on top of it. And the signs will keep things uniform and hopefully reduce the amount of items you cannot accept. And these, like I said, these signs are offered on our website, so you can download it as a PDF or an image, I believe. You can print them out and make your own signs out of them. And here's just a pretty big list of having a successful green cube. It is not the end-all, be-all, but it is very helpful One of the most important things to remember is to keep the green cube organized. If the area becomes cluttered or junky in appearance, it will become a trash magnet instead of a recycling oasis. This is a term dubbed by one of our coworkers, but it is a really important item. You know, if you don't keep it clean, people are going to just see it as a way to just trash whatever they don't want to take to the trash can, or they don't want to walk over to the recycler, or they don't know how to manage a piece of material that they need to dispose of. So keeping it clean and organized will let people know that this is being maintained and it's not just a place to dump whatever. So I'll just go down this list and some of the additional things that we discussed. Maintain a clean and organized area. Take into consideration the costs, the shipping costs, pickup and delivery costs, and time to manage recyclables. That will be a big defining factor on what you can and cannot accept. If you can take on some charges, make sure what your vendor is going to charge you to pick up those electronics, or for you to donate the electronics to them. Have backup vendors in place, because some of these vendors, if you go down there and you take a bunch of electronics, if they just have so much they won't accept. We ran into issues, you know, if we bring ink, toner, and cartridges to a vendor and they just don't have the capacity at the moment, you're stuck with all these toners and cartridges. So have a backup in place, call ahead to ensure that they're willing to accept it at the moment, and this will help reduce, you know, all these items piling up within your green cube. It's rare to find one recycling service provider that will accept every item in the cube, so make sure you have those multiple vendors, and make sure you have a list of items they can and cannot accept. Keep in mind that certain items that can be recycled may not have a recycling service provider in your area. So the signage that we provide, you may be in a rural area where you don't have a vendor that can take those batteries. So make sure before you set up a green cube and you have the signage in place that you have a vendor in place that can accept these items. And like I said, you know, record all your weights. Not only will this verify what your vendor is charging you if you're being charged, but it helps you track, you know, the items that you're taking. And, you know, have these arrangements in place, like I said. Ensure that your agreements with your contracts are in place with the recycling companies and donation centers before implementing green cubes, because if you don't have these agreements in place, they may not be accepting items at all. I mean, they may advertise that they take these, but if they don't have a contract in place, or if they're already at capacity, make sure you have those agreements in place so you're not stuck with these items and know where to take them. And develop a master list of vendors and donation centers with their contact information, list of materials they accept, and cost. So anyone in the office could arrange, you know, these materials to be in place. So if your green cube champion isn't in the office at the moment and you're piling up with light bulbs, or you're piling up with batteries, that master list is already in place. So you can just call them up and say, hey, I got this stuff, can you pick it up, or can we go drop it off? Don't limit yourself to one person having control over the green cube. I mean, it's good to have one champion maintaining it, but making sure you have other people in place to process these materials, because, you know, if you lose an employee and they're the only ones that had the contacts, the green cube can pile up fairly quickly. So make sure you have those contacts in place. And like I said, a lot of this information we have on our website. So if you have any additional questions, or if you're curious about how we developed it, we have guidelines in place on our website, and you can definitely use that to help you create your own green cube. And that's all I have. Does anyone have any questions? Feel free to send them in the comment box.
Yeah, Mark, thank you so much for that insight on a green cube and the initiatives that you've been taking. I think it was very, very helpful for people that are going to be starting their own green cubes. And I actually got a few questions during your presentation just asking about the green cube signage and some of our vendors that they use. So I would, to answer that for everyone, I'll be sending a follow-up email after this webinar with any links to our website where we have all the signage and stuff that you can download. So if you're trying to start your green cube or your sustainable workplace program, we're here to help in any way that we can. So thanks, Mark.
You. No problem.
So next up we have Rachel Friend from Train up in Clarksville. Rachel has a Bachelor of Science in Environmental Science from Virginia Tech. She's originally from Pulaski, Virginia. She converted from a career in banking to environmental work, and she's been working for 6 years at Train managing the environmental and facilities program. She's one of our newest Tennessee Green Star partners, and we are super excited to have her and super excited to hear what she's got going on at Train. So with that being said, Rachel, I will pass it on to you.
Thank you, Caleb. All right, so as Caleb said, I have been managing the environmental program for 6 years here at Train, and don't let the next slides fool you. I did not create all of this. I inherited a really nice program, but over 6 years I have been able to increase what we've been doing. So just to start, some of the sustainability efforts we've taken over the past couple years are replacing some of the windows in the office and then tinting them. So we did have some old aluminum frame windows. We got rid of those, replaced those with new double pane glass windows, and then we added some window tinting to those. The difference that we've seen in the summer, I used to see about a 5-degree temperature change. So if we had our thermostat set to 74, I'd come in the morning, it'd be about 73, but by the afternoon, over by those windows, it was baking up to about 78 degrees. In the wintertime, it always stayed about 5 degrees cooler than the thermostat setting. So big difference here for replacing the windows and then adding the tint. Now, I will caution, if you want to tint your windows, there's a big savings opportunity for energy, but be prepared for employees voicing their concerns. So window tinting is a very visible, very noticeable difference. People tend to not like change that much, but it is good, and you can talk about your sustainability efforts, and I'll talk more at the end about some employee concerns, but just keep that in mind that you will have some complaints if you tint your windows. Moving on to thermostat settings. For the winter, I have actually cut back our thermostat settings from 74 to 72, and in the summer, it used to be always set on 72, and now I'm 74, so I've kind of reversed those. And the reason why is the Department of Energy's website actually says that you can gain about 1% of savings per degree per 8-hour period. So over a few amount of periods, that adds up quite nicely for energy savings, and that's something that's really simple. If you're going to do a change in your thermostat settings, I would suggest just do it one temperature at a time. So maybe you do one temperature for a month and then you do another temperature change for the next month. So if you have a temperature change of 3 degrees that you want to achieve, don't do all 3 degrees at the same time. Gradually work your employees into that. Once again, change. People don't like change. All right, lights, and more lights. Over the years, we have been converting our T8 fluorescent lights to the LED lights. Big energy savings here. We've also been adding the occupancy sensors, and we've set those to 15 minutes. So the pictures that you see, these are just 2 of the fixtures that we use in our conference rooms. We use these really fancy GE fixtures. They look really nice. And then in the office itself, we've been using these Eaton fixtures. They're a lower cost, super reliable, very efficient, and this can also help keep some of the temperature down in your office. And then this one you might not think about as much. Being in a HVAC manufacturer, I do tend to think about this one. Ductless HVAC units. We have been utilizing these over the past couple of years because they are a lot more efficient and they can be a lot less expensive and easier to install than your traditional HVAC unit. So if you have a lot of different areas that are zoned out or multiple conference rooms, you can actually install these ductless HVAC units fairly simply, fairly easily, and it creates custom zones that are more efficient than some of the more traditional HVAC units that you're probably used to. And since last year, we've joined a joint venture with Mitsubishi, so I can actually say this now. Mitsubishi makes a fantastic ductless unit. These that we have pictured here are Trane units. I don't know that those are available anymore since we have partnered with Mitsubishi. But those are something to look into, especially if you're having temperature issues with certain areas in your office. You can look at a ductless unit to help solve that. Okay, and then we'll go into recycling. Batteries. We have about 300 people in our office, and we generate a lot of batteries, lots of wireless mouses and keyboards and all that good stuff. So I just set up these battery recycling collection areas. They don't have to be this fancy. These were about 65 bucks, and I did put a link there to the battery locations that you can get those from. But they look really nice. And I will say, if you're going to recycle your batteries and ship those off, please don't forget to tape the ends of those, especially your lithium batteries. If they come into contact with each other, they could short out and cause a fire. So we don't want that. So just remember to tape the ends of those. And you can actually, put a little sign up and have your employees tape them before they drop them in there, and maybe just do a quick audit. Moving on to electronic scrap, we've recently partnered with ERS, that's Rebecca Dopp. She has a fantastic program for tackling electronic scrap. We'll use, for example, we just did a conversion on our phone system from an analog to digital. So I had about 500 phones to get rid of. So I called Rebecca up and said, hey, Rebecca, I've got this. Is this something you'd be interested in? She came up, took a look. We boxed them up, and then she picked those up for us at no charge. So if you're not familiar with ERS or Rebecca Dopp, please go take a look at that. It can be a really good source for you to get rid of some of your electronic scrap, and it benefits a really good charity organization as well. And then printer supplies. We use Xerox. And I found this really cool program on Xerox's website where they will take back all of their printer supplies, and you can do it per box if you don't generate a whole lot. You can see we generate a lot. So we actually do by the pallet. So once I have about 30 items, at least 30 items, I can shrink those to a pallet. Go online, fill out a piece of paper called Xerox or call the shipping office. And they take everything back for free. Even Xerox pays the shipping charges on that. So a really nice way to get rid of your excess toner supplies or empty toner cartridges and stuff like that. And then in our mail room, an employee actually brought this up and said, hey, we've got all this junk mail that we get, and we just have a trash can. It'd be really nice if we had a recycle bin. I said, that's a really good idea. So we just threw a recycle bin in our mail room, and that's where we put all of our junk mail, and we get a lot of junk mail. And then in our break room, under our microwaves, we used to just have one trash can. So we've sectioned that off, so now we've got our plastic bottles, aluminum cans, and then our trash. And I like to put the trash kind of further away than the door because it makes it a little easier for people to hit the plastic than the aluminum first. And then also notice that it's clearly labeled and color-coded. And if you see that little black trash can hanging off the side of the aluminum bin, that's actually for the tabs off of the aluminum cans, and we send those to the Ronald McDonald House charity separately. And then just throughout the office itself, we've got a pretty good-sized office, so it makes it easier for people to recycle if you've got containers located all throughout the office. These are some really nice ones that I get from Clearstream Recycling. The clear bags make it really easy to see if someone's not doing what they should be. So that way, it's if you see someone that's recycling plastic and the aluminum, then you can actually call them out, and maybe a coaching opportunity would be available at that time. But the clear makes it really nice, very visible, and very easy to maintain. And at each cubicle, every employee has a trash can and a paper bin. And just recently, we've added the labeling to this. So the trash bins say, trash only, please recycle all paper, cardboard, plastics, and aluminum. And then in the blue, you've got paper only. So our janitorial staff will actually come around at the end of the day and recycle all the paper, and then anything that's in the trash bin gets thrown out. And for our cardboard, we did set up a large cardboard container. We have been diverting lots of cardboard waste from the trash into the cardboard bin since we've been able to put this in. And for us, since we have a large manufacturing site here as well, it's really simple for us to get rid of the cardboard since we bale our cardboard and ship that out. So we generate a lot, so we just put our office cardboard in with our general cardboard. And then here's something that I'm actually working towards, and this is what I get really excited over, is creating a smart office. So you've probably heard of smart buildings, smart offices. This is what my goal is for our plant. Basically, you are essentially creating smart spaces that tie technology to web-based applications. I am not an expert in this field whatsoever, but I do work with people who are, so they help me through this and they help me understand. But the first thing that we needed to do was upgrade our building automation system. Think of this as kind of the brains for your HVAC systems and your lighting and stuff like that. So the really neat thing about our upgraded system is we have the capability to tie controls into our BAS for lighting and HVAC automation. And then we've also installed electric submeters. Before we installed our electric submeters, we could not see how much energy just the office was using. We could only see what our plant was using. So now we can actually break out the office. So this would be a really good idea if you had multi-floors in your office or different spaces that you wanted to see which one was using more energy than the others. And then the last piece of this is utilizing energy performance. This is a web-based software that can look for inefficiencies and not only look for them, but it allows you to be able to correct from anywhere at any time. So all of these are web-based. You could pull them up from your smartphone or tablet and be able and change set points. Something else that's really neat is a lot of times people can set timers on their thermostats. This, you could actually set an occupancy sensor to your thermostat and say, okay, HVAC system, if it's unoccupied, I want to take the temperature down to 68 degrees in the winter. And then when it is occupied, those occupancy sensors are triggered, then you could say, okay, bring it back up to 72 over a range of however many minutes. So it does create, it allows you to create these smart spaces for efficiency and waste reductions, energy reductions, stuff like that. So that's what we're working towards here. This is very much going to take quite a few years. We are retrofitting our office space, which is 60 years old. So it's going to take a while, but that's what we're working towards. And then just to round out, I wanted to leave you with some helpful tidbits. Make recycling as easy as possible. So if you're on this call, most likely you're very passionate about sustainability, but in reality, that's not everybody's cup of tea. So if you make it as easy as possible, it makes it easier for them to recycle, and then it kind of takes the excuses out of why they won't. If you color code and label, I've found that that helps tremendously. So if you're going to do aluminum can containers, maybe you keep all of those blue, and then your plastic containers are all going to be green. So that's a nice color code that helps people understand what needs to go where. And then I did touch on this one. Be prepared for employees voicing concerns over change. Once again, people, they don't like to change, and if you're working 40, 50, 60 hours a week, it's almost like you're here more than you are at your home. So when someone comes in and changes something at your work home, it can be a little dramatic at times, I'm not going to lie. But I have found if you can kind of ride it out for about the first 3 months, usually the chatter will die down. Now, if it's still going on after about 6 months, you might want to reevaluate the changes that you've made just to make sure that it is the right thing for the employees and engagement. But once again, if you can ride it out for about 3 months and then it dies down, then you're probably good to go. And then if you're not passionate about sustainability, well, maybe you shouldn't be the one leading your sustainability efforts. It is a lot of work. A lot of times it can be a thankless job, so to speak. So make sure that you have someone leading your sustainability efforts that is passionate, that is going to wake up thinking about it, or maybe they're at the grocery store and they see something that the grocery store is doing and they say, oh, I could do that, I could take that back. So make sure you have a passionate person in that position that's going to lead the sustainability program. And then the last thing to remember is that sustainability is always an ongoing marathon, never a sprint. So it takes time, and it's always ongoing. So don't think you're going to wake up and, oh, in a month I'm going to have a great sustainability program. It doesn't work like that. But you can get there, just ongoing, never a sprint. All right, Caleb, I will send it back to you.
All right, thank you so much, Rachel. That was very insightful, and I really appreciate those helpful tidbits for everyone that's trying to start some sort of sustainability program or already has one going on. I think that a lot of the things that you said were very beneficial for updating and keeping things going strong with the sustainability program. So not wasting any time, we will jump right to our next speaker. Our next speaker is Janice Bourne. She works for Ideal Clamps. She is the HS&E specialist for Ideal Clamp products. She has a bachelor's degree in industrial technology management and a master's in safety. She has over 25 years in safety, with 10 of those being environmental and safety. So most of her experience is in the automotive and automotive supply industry. Ideal Clamps creates a majority of the hose clamps for all of the automotive manufacturers around the state and around the nation. So with all that being said, I'm going to pass that over to you, Janice, and it's all you.
All right, thank you, Caleb. And asking about time, how much time do I have?
We got about 15, 20 minutes.
Okay, all right, well, we have time then. All right, well, let me tell you a little bit about our company. We do make hose clamps, as you see in the top left-hand corner there. We make all types of clamps. Smyrna, Tennessee is our corporate office. The building is about 40 years old, and we're about 150,000 square feet, and we sit on 70 acres off of I-24. Very picturesque site. Lots of opportunity to do some stuff with our property, but maybe we'll get there. We have about 350 employees here at this site, with 100 of those being in the office, so that's where I'll try and concentrate today. We are ISO 14001 certified and have been since 2004. Let's see, we do a lot of things for our environmental program, and we're going to focus on recycling and communication and convenience. Those are the two drivers for how successful your program is going to be for recycling. We focus on reduce, reuse, and recycle, and in that order. But no matter what program we're working on, communication is what is important. We have boards all over our facility, and safety and environment is part of all of our communication boards. We have dedicated environmental boards, and this is how we communicate what's going on. If we have special events coming up where we encourage recycling, it's just information about recycling, keep people excited about it. If you don't keep it in front of them, they're not going to remember to do it. So we have meetings with all of our employees every year talking about our environmental efforts, what our goals are for that year, and how they can affect our program. Convenience is also the other side of this. If you do not have your recycle centers in areas that are convenient, they won't bother to walk 5 feet more to put it in a recycle than putting it in a trash. That's just common behavior, I guess. So we have a desk. Many of our desks have recycle bins at the desk. We have recycle centers in the general office, upstairs and downstairs. And being a 2-story office does offer its challenges in how we can recycle, because everything has to come down. Shown on the pictures here, you can see the type of recycle centers that we have. The blue cans here are what we use throughout the inventory and all of our manufacturing sites. And you can see there are cans and plastics, and they are always close to exit doors. Also shown here is a paper shredding that happens to be right next to their free popsicle freezer. So we offer those for employees too. The recycle shredding paper, although that is an overflow bin for our office area, because accounting has to have an overflow bin, so we offer that to employees as well at no charge. And it's surprising how many people will use that for their confidential shredding. Now, in the office, we recycle plastics, cans, and paper, just like Train does. But as a company, I think we're hitting over 70 tons of paper recycled a year. When we look at our conference rooms, we're looking at the use of paper. All of our conference rooms now are equipped with overhead projectors and screens so that people can show their reports and information they want to share at meetings on overhead, so that you don't have to have reports, written documents that you go through. And that has cut down on a lot of paper usage. Our thermostats we keep at, believe it or not, 69 in winter instead of 72, and 72 to 74 in the summer. We do have the automatic sensors, so when they're not in use, they will turn the lights off. Now, something we have gone to in the last couple of years, although it is not a recycling effort, it is part of our Bring Tap Back program. This ensures that people are drinking more water. That is the emphasis, is do away with the sugary drinks and to bring tap back. It's surprising, we have 5 of these units now, and in 1 year's time, we had over 35,000. So that's an incredible usage of water at these units. And they were a hit. So if you want to do something environmental, you know, for health as well as environment, that's the way to go. Paper is the main recyclable in the office. At all of our printers, the big printers, we have recycling bins. And over on the right, you'll see the large black bin. And this is for paper and corrugated. And above that, we'll tell you all the types of paper that can go in there. And it's going to be all types of mixed. Now, the printer in the center, we have a blue bin. And the blue bins are upstairs. We can't use the large bins because the blue bins have to be brought down from upstairs. So if you have that same challenge at your facility, think about how you're going to get these bins downstairs. We installed a lift device because we also have to get unused paper up there to our printers, so we use it to get our waste paper back down. Critical on the paper, as well as all recycling, is what type of arrangement you have with your janitorial service. Because you can go through all of these programs and separating it, but if you're not taking it where it needs to be for recycling, it may end up in the landfill anyway. So who is going to take that paper and put it in your actual recycle center for the company? We've had a few challenges with that. You think that it's been separated and going the right place, but you have to audit for that and ensure that your janitorial service is actually following through in putting it where it needs to go. On our printer cartridges, we use HP and Ricoh, and HP printer cartridges, when you get a new printer cartridge, then you just put it in the recycle bin and get those out of our stores. For the Ricohs, all of those are shipped back in the container that they came with. Communication is very important, and we have a health, safety, and environmental site that all employees have access to. This is how we ensure that everyone knows the latest and greatest on our procedures and using the right forms. And you can see here we have safety, environment, as well as our emergency plans are posted here. On the environmental website is where people can go to if they want to know what to recycle and what to do with it. They can access the waste chart. And the waste chart will tell them exactly how to recycle. Here's an example of one. This one is not complete. There's a few items that are not on here. But all of our employees, as part of their orientation, are taught how to access this information and how to use it, and shown where these locations are. So you can see we use color codes to determine what type of waste it is. It could be recycled waste, which is going to be in black. Green is going to be universal waste. Red is hazardous waste. And blue is the janitorial waste. And as you roll across the chart, you'll see what type it is, classification, how you handle it, the vendor that we use, because I may not always be around, so I want to make sure that is documented. The telephone number even to call if you have questions, and specific handling and shipping requirements. Annually, we provide an Earth Day, and this is an event that used to charge, I guess we would budget between $8,000 and $9,000 to have an Earth Day event, and that was bringing someone in-house that would leave a truck here and take care of all the waste for us. And since we took it on ourselves, we can have the same event for less than $1,000. And Earth Day is for universal waste. We have this for all of our employees. It coincides with Earth Day, the National Earth Day events. So it'll be the week of April the 20th. It's always on a Thursday. And this is a big hit for employees. We ship usually around 3,000 pounds of electronics during one of these events. And they can bring everything, any cord and plug type equipment that doesn't have a compressor or hazardous materials in it. We can't take paints, but we can take bulbs, batteries, computers, televisions. That's where our cost comes in. We do have to pay per pound for those. In fact, this is such a big hit, we may open this up to twice a year instead of once a year. All right, there are many recycling things that we do here. Electronics, we have a bin just outside the office doors where the computers, laptops, keyboards, all those will go in this. We ship about 3 of these bins a year just in electronics. And I won't go into the stuff in the plant, but you'll see in the lower right-hand corner we do have a battery bucket, similar to what Train has. It's not as pretty, but it is functional. And we do have the instructions posted above it. And we normally keep a roll of duct tape on the top to make it convenient for people to tape those contacts before they put them in the bucket. Okay. I did rush right through that. As far as challenges to our system, if it's not convenient, people will not participate. And it has to be easily communicated, and you have to communicate often, either by boards, on your email, website. You have to keep it in front of the employees to make them excited and want to be part of the program. So I guess I'm ready for questions.
This is more of a comment, Janice, instead of a question, but someone said you could do how you do the Earth Day event. You could do it again in November for America Recycles Day. We here at at the tower, we actually do America's Recycles Day where we take our green cube and go to one of the other state buildings and take anybody's stuff that since they don't have a green cube in their building. So that's just something that I guess that you could think about maybe in November. That's pretty, the other side of the year. So that's something cool to think about. And also I wanted to, going back to Rachel, someone commented and said, this is something that it's not really a question, it's just something to be aware of. That solar loading is something that you need to consider whenever you're window tinting. It's a positive in the summer, but it could be also be a negative impact in the winter. So I didn't know, Rachel, if you've found that to be the case, or?
Maybe just a little bit, because you do lose some of that ambient temperature coming in from the sun. Not so much this winter, though, since it's been so rainy. But yes, that is something to definitely take into account. And then don't go too dark on your tinting as well, because employees like sunshine. So I went a little dark on mine, I'll be honest. That's probably why I had so much chatter for 3 months.
Well, and another thing, maybe if you could, if you don't have LED lighting inside your office, maybe that with the window tinting would, reduce the amount of negative feedback that comes, because, LED lighting has a higher foot candle rating. So that's something to think about if you think that there's going to be a lot of backlash from it being darker. Maybe you could also coincide LED retrofits to maybe, that's just an idea. But if I haven't really seen any more questions, feel free to send those my way, and we'll get those. This webinar is recorded, so we will be putting that on the website and sending that out in a follow-up email. But I just wanted to say thank you so much to our presenters. They're so passionate about the environment. It gets me pumped up. I hope it gets you guys pumped up, and I hope it really, this webinar gets you guys excited for a sustainability program in your office if there's not already one, or hopefully it gives you some ideas about things that you could benefit or update your sustainability program. So yeah, if there's no more questions, I'd like to thank the speakers once again, and also I'd like to thank for everyone that registered and was part of the webinar audience. Our next webinar will be June 12th, so be on the lookout for the registration links for that and the email that will give you more information on that. We are also coordinating the June 12th webinar with the folks at Best Practices Magazine. I don't know if any of you guys have heard of Best Practices Magazine. They publish compressed air best practices, chiller and cooling best practices, and blower and vacuum best practices. Those are all 3 different types of magazines under the Best Practices umbrella, if you will. They are also having their 2nd annual Best Practices Expo at the Music City Center here in Nashville on October 13th through 16th. There's going to be a variety of vendors, experienced speakers, and networking opportunities. So we'll be working with them, coordinating the June 12th webinar. It's probably going to have to do with compressed air and chillers and cooling and blower and vacuum systems. But also that expo is going to be very, very informative, and I think it's something that a lot of manufacturers and environmental people would enjoy and gain a lot from. So I'll be giving some more information about that. So stay tuned for more information. This webinar is recorded, and the presentation slides will be available on our website. But if you have any questions or any other contact-related problems, feel free to contact me. My email is caleb.powell@ten.gov. That is caleb.powell@ten.gov. So thanks again, and have a great rest of your week.